All right, so this is something that I went through when I first started, and everything that I'm sharing is everything that either I learned or I brought in from my industry. From teaching, from engineering. Once I was able to bring everything that I learned in there into my trading, then I was able to take off and really make something of myself as a trader. And that's what I wanted to really share with you guys. So let's kind of review what we talked about last week. Was building a trading business plan. And I kind of gave you some things to think about, some questions to ask yourself so you can start thinking, taking notes, writing things down, because you have to build a plan. You have to develop a plan, because if things start to go wrong and you get out of sorts, you need to have something to fall back on. As well as you're wanting to run this like a business. So you have to have a business plan. You got to have a roadmap in order to get from where you are now to where you want to be. So it's twofold. And I promise you, this week I was going to share the template that I have, and tell you a little bit about what I did, but really tell you, the plan that I came up with. All right, so let's review real quick what we talked about last week. These are the important points that I wanted to make sure that you got. If you're considering the trading career, you must have a business plan, because banks, all these other jobs that have all these people working for them, you got to do all of these jobs. The traders, the analysts, the risk managers, everybody. Just think of a bank and everybody that works in the bank. You have to do all of those jobs yourself if you're going to be, a trader. Because everything behind these guys, we don't have. We can't afford to pay all these people. So we have to do it. And the trading plan is going to include the rules and information that you're going to have to be a full-time trader. Now, you're not going to be full-time now, probably. It's something that you're going to have to work towards. I had the mentality that I was a full-time trader, but I wasn't trading full-time. I was working full-time. But the way I approached it was that I am trading full-time, but this is my schedule. So that was where I was. So first, and we talked about this last week about your personal and financial goals. You needed to, once you decided and made a commitment, then you needed to start looking at yourself, looking at what you're going to need. And after you created your goals, then you need to put together a business plan. So everything you thought about last week, if you did it, if you didn't, you still need to go back and do it. Because if you are going to be successful, you're going to have to do it. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, because I know for a fact you can't skip these things. And we needed to consider the cost of trading. What strategies you wanted to use. What fundamentals are you going to use? How are you going to manage your money? We needed to define a daily routine and how to deal with the psychology of trading. Because I don't care. It's not just trading. It's everything. If you're going to be successful in anything you do, 80% of it is psychological. and 20% of it is the strategy. Because learning the strategies are easy, and most often there's not a whole lot of strategies you can employ. In trading, there is a limit to how many strategies you're gonna have. And yeah, the strategies may be called different things, but they're all knockoffs of the same strategy. So, you're gonna have to define your daily routine and how you're gonna deal with that psychology of trading. And that all boils down to psychology is what helps you execute. And you got to keep in mind that your plan is going to evolve as you develop as a trader. It's a working document. It's not something that you do and put away and forget about it. You're going to change it. It's a work in progress. All right, so let's look at the first thing. And I hope you guys have thought about this. And let me know if the screen share messes up so I can reset it. I know it's a little slow. The internet's been a little slow today. Okay, so the first thing, you want to talk about your goals, your financial and trading goals. Okay, first tip here. At this point, do not sit down and think about how much you need to pay the bills. Your household bills and all of this stuff. What you need to think about is how much is it going to cost you to start up your business. At this point, you're just starting up. If you put the burden of, I have to make $1,500 a week in order to be able to pay my bills, or $2,000 a week to pay my bills, and you start off that way, you probably aren't going to make it to the end. You have to start off with realistic, attainable goals. The first thing you want to do in business is you want to be profitable. And you'll never be profitable, or you'll probably never get to be profitable if you're throwing the kitchen sink at your trading goals, at your financial goals. So you want to be realistic. So in the beginning, you want to start out with making enough money to sustain your trading. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And I'm going to let you see what my number was. And, you probably tweak it. Everybody's going to have a different number. And you break that down into monthly and then yearly. Do not do daily. I highly recommend you do not set daily goals. Because what's going to happen is it's going to force you to look at your P&L every day. And at the end of the day, or, you may have a goal of $250 a day, and you're sitting at $207, and you're like, well, all I need is a quick $50 trade, and I'm done. Then you jump in a stock, and it does a move like, what's that stock? I can't even remember. PBX. My mind's drawing a blank. PXD. Like PXD did today, where we broke below the 20, and you're like, I can get a quick hit from the 20 down to the VWAP, or at least to the whole dollar, and I could pick up that extra money. And guess what it did? It started, it confirmed, and then it turned around and went back up. Okay, would have stopped you out at a loss. And now you're even further away from your daily goal, and it starts to eat away at you. And that's when a downward spiral comes. So that's why I don't have daily goals up here. Monthly, yearly, you can put weekly. Weekly is not bad. But do not do daily. Daily is not something that you want to have to deal with. So let's do this. Let's do weekly. I'll put that in. All right. We've got a working document here. All right. Oops. There we go. I'm having fun with this. And then we've got personal goals. These are personal growth goals. Where do you want to be in 3 months? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to be in a year? And these have to be realistic. And then you want to have goals for your risk tolerance. What's the max amount are you willing to risk? That's something that we have to that sonar noise, that's TweetDeck. I'm gonna turn the sound down. It's coming on my other computer. These are goals that you have to write down. So from your notes from this week or from your thoughts from this week, you want to fill this out. What do you want your weekly returns to be? Is it, and this is starting out now. Don't put your final goal. This is the first goal that you want to reach as a trader. What weekly goals do you want? Is it $250 a week? Hell, it could be $100 a week. Because when you're learning, you're going to be up and down. You're going to be trading small. It could be $100 a week. It could be $500 a month. You don't want to I know you want to set lofty goals, but trading is different. You got to have a different mentality, and you've got to approach this differently. You don't want to have this lofty financial goal hanging over your head, because money causes all kind of problems. All right. Now, investment. How much starting capital are you going to have? And your starting capital and trading capital are two different things. A lot of people don't separate it. But your starting capital has to include your trading capital and your capital for your startup costs. Okay, with me, let me tell you how naive I was. I started with a bonus check of $1,500. And I was thinking, hell, I can put this $1,500 in the account and start making it work for me. But no, that couldn't do that. That's not. There's a lot more that came with this, as we're gonna see. I've got this check, opened up my account, deposited my money. Now, I only put $800 in SureTrader to start with. I used $500 to open up Thinkorswim or TD Ameritrade. I put $500 in it. I put $800 in SureTrader. And I needed to try to figure out, what was I going to do? Because the whole time, all December, I was thinking I was going to start with $1,500. I was reading the story about Tim Grittani, how he started with $1,500. Then as I got deeper into it, he's like, okay, I started with $1,500, but his parents gave him these thousands of dollars so that he could spread money between 3 accounts. But he only used $1,500. However, that worked. So I realized then that, hey, maybe this $1,500 deal is more than what it's, stacked up to be. I need to figure out what's going on. So I had to break it down because I had put all my money in the trading accounts. So now, what was I going to do? How was I going to pay for the costs that are involved? So I was a little bit lost there. So you want to look at these things and you want to break it down, and we're going to break them down here in a second, and you'll see what I mean by capital for costs. And then I had to decide what was I going to trade. So options and futures and forex, I didn't put that on here. Those were things that I was looking at, that I was like, I'm going to trade these. I'm going to trade stocks, options, futures, and forex. And then I realized, no, I needed to focus on one thing. And so options and futures disappeared. I stuck to stocks. So on my goal, on my business trading plan, I laid out what my weekly goal was going to be. And at that time, it was $250. My goal, at that time, I had a daily goal as well when I very first started, was $50 a day, $250 a week, and $1,000 a month. That's all. That's all I wanted to do and wanted to make starting out. Because I realized I needed to start small and then grow. All right, so my personal goals, I had, I wanted to get educated. That was number one. And really, that was my only personal goal, was to be educated. And to be educated by the time school was out. And my risk goals, I didn't have a clue at first what that was. I didn't know what's risk. What are you talking about? And then I realized it. I set a risk goal per trade, and I set a risk goal per day, and I set a risk goal per week. And again, all of these things are going to change as your trading grows. All right, so we get to the cost of trading, the actual cost of trading. So here's where you need to list everything that you're going to need to get started. Not everybody needs everything, that has the same needs. So for me, hardware, I already had a laptop, but I wanted another laptop and 2 monitors. That's what I wanted to start with. But I didn't have a whole lot of money here. So I went and charged the laptop, the cheapest one I could find that would do what I wanted it to do. And, $250. Then I went to the surplus, bought 2 monitors, bought the USB to VGA adapter, and I had my hardware. Okay, I didn't really need any software because everything I could download. I downloaded the platform, and all of that. The scanner, I could download it. So I didn't have anything, but I had platform fees that I didn't think about through SureTrader. The news feed service, at that time, I didn't realize I could get it for free from Thinkorswim. So I was looking to enroll in a news service. Your chat community. And then you can't forget about taxes, because once you start making money, Uncle Sam is going to come looking for you. There's no way around it. If you live in the United States. Now, if you live outside of the United States, you don't have to worry about this the way I have to worry about it. So you may have your own deal. You may have to pay taxes where you live. I don't know. But that's something that you need to get with a tax professional for. But I put this in because this is a cost of trading. It is a cost of doing business. The other thing I didn't put down, and you'll probably see on my budget, was the internet. I had to get high-speed internet. So that was an added cost. Because I didn't have cable, I had satellite. And in order to get the high-speed internet, I had to get cable. So that was a charge. But this was the startup cost for me. So, I had $1,500 and I charged this. I bought this stuff and I had to get educated, and it was $1,250. Now, the first one I was looking at was Tim Sykes, and I was looking to be a challenge student or whatever it was then. That was $5,500. Okay, so I did the interview. It was well, I'm not going to even go there, but I was sitting here trying to figure out how I could get $5,500, and then I realized, the hell, there's no way in the world I'm going to do that. I signed up for his chat room. I got some videos for free, which was cool, by signing up. And I was like, I'm not paying this money for education when I'm getting these free videos. That was a big mistake, because these free videos weren't giving me the basic foundation or the fundamentals of trading. They weren't. It was teaching me strategies, but that's only 20% of trading. Everything else was just out there in left field. But this was kind of the figure that I ended up spending, by getting the DVDs and stuff that I got. But how did I get this money? I only had $1,500, and I put my money in my brokers. I had to go to work. I had to save. I had to quit spending. I quit going out to lunch. I started bringing my lunch to work. That saved me about $75 that week. I stopped buying lottery tickets. That was big time. And then I started doing more side work. And that's how I made my money to fund my education and to help me fund my trading. If you don't have that ability, you're going to need to save this money up to start with. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. If you just had, let's say you've got $1,500 in the bank. That's what you have. And you take that money and you put it in a trading account, and you realize that you don't have the money to get a decent platform. You have to use the internet platform. You can't get in a chat room. You can't do this. Where are you going to start learning, getting your trades from? Does Twitter sound familiar? You start following these people on Twitter and you start trying to trade their alerts. You don't even know their strategy, but you got all your money in this account and you want to make it grow. you don't have money to get education. You don't have money to do all of this. I can't tell you how many people they've sent me emails saying, I want to take your class so that, while I'm trading and while I'm taking your class, I can pay for it with the money that I'm going to make. It doesn't work that way. And too many people think it does. It doesn't. You have to be established first. You got to have this plan down. You got to have your finances in check. Because even if you're only going to trade with $1,500, you don't want to have that money in the account and then you don't have everything else you need in place to be successful. So this is where this plan comes in, and this is where you got to think about all of this stuff. And here's tax again. Can't get around that. All right, so your strategies. You have to learn certain strategies. Now, you can't learn 20 strategies and think you're going to start out employing them. I strongly recommend you learning 1 to 2 setups at the beginning and only trade so many hours a day. I recommend the open because that's the easiest time to trade and make money. But you only want to learn 1 or 2 setups, master them, learn them inside and out so that if something happens down the road, you can come back to that. And believe me, as a new trader trying to grow your account, you're going to get lost. You're going to get out of sync, and you're going to need to be able to come back to you're going to need to be able to come back home so that you can make it to the next level. So in your technical strategies, you need to complete the complete setup. Okay, you don't need the you don't need just what the setup is. In this plan, you're going to need to know how are you going to manage it? How are you going to manage the trades? What are the rules for the setup? How are you going to manage risk on this setup? Everything has to be laid out for each strategy. And I just thought of something that I should have had this up. I should have had this up. But if you go to back under the videos, the archives here, the very first one I did where I was going over my trading strategies, in that you'll see for like opening range breakout, I have everything laid out. I had the rules. That's a good example of everything that you need for each setup, so that you know exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and when not to do it. That's very important. So for each strategy that you trade, you need to have what the setup is, how you're going to manage the trade. Well, the setup, you want the rules of engagement, you want the trade, how you're going to manage the trade, then how you're going to manage risk. At a minimum, these are the things that you want, in that strategy. All right, next, you want to have a daily routine. You have to have a daily routine. If you don't, things are going to be a little haywire for you. Oops, keep going back. So you want to start your day at the same time every day, if possible. Now, if you're at work I know it's a little bit, it's hard to manage your schedule sometimes, and I understand that because that was me when I started. But as I began to trade and come into different scenarios that could come up at work, I had a plan for it. And that's what you're going to have to do. But you want to try to start at the same time every day. I wake up the same time every day. I prepare and go work out. Come back, eat. I have a set time when I'm building my watch list. There's a process. There's a rhyme and reason to everything I do. You know, I take lunch. I'll take my break. I'll take breaks when things go haywire. Like this morning. You know, I had to walk away. It's what we have to do. We have to have a daily routine, and we have to stick to it. Because this is going to help us be more consistent in our trading. The less we can think about outside of our trades and our trading, the better we're going to be. The more consistent we're going to be. The more we can automate what we do every day, and which means do it without really thinking about it, the better we're going to be. And like Omar, he just said, you know, he didn't realize how important the daily routine was until he moved full time. And it's very important. You know, I've worked with traders that, you know, would rush home from work to try to catch the open. Well, that wasn't the smartest thing to do because you're not prepared. You know, and running in and trying to trade somebody else's watch list, and you haven't gone through the vetting procedure for yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. So if you can't make it on time at the open, and you don't want to rush, just take your time and get set up for secondary moves. And yeah, just like anything else, sometimes secondary moves don't pan out. But that's all you have. And if you can do that consistently, you can grow your account. It's just a matter of, you know, being committed to it. And then I have reflect here because reflection is a big part of my daily routine. I reflect on all my trades after the market. I don't look at my P&L. Well, sometimes I do just to kind of give you a reference. But for the most part, I don't look at my P&L. I don't look at how much I made on a trade until I sit down and I go through and I review my trades. When I do that, that's when I you know, look at what I made on each trade. And then I reflect and I look to see what could I have done to help me do better on this trade. And that's key. And this is a big part of reflection, is a big part of what I stress in the day trading psychology class. You know, reflecting on each trade. I have a model that you use, that you go through and reflect on each trade, and it helps you learn what you did wrong and help you not do it again. Learn what you did right, help you repeat that again. You know, and help you plan to get better. And that's what it boils down to. So reflection is very, very powerful. And so I can't stress enough of how you need to have a daily routine and how it needs to be a part of your trading plan, your trading business plan. You may not think that, you know, in a regular business, having a daily routine as part of the business plan, you know, may not fit in, probably won't fit in. But in day trading, that daily routine has to be law. And it's something that if you get lost, you need to be able to go back to your business plan and find out where you're getting off at. You know, where are you going wrong? So very, very, very important. You need to have some psychological management strategies, how to deal with emotion. Case in point, this morning I flat lost it. I mean, if you were listening, I apologize. But, this morning I just flat lost it. And all because, here we had stocks setting up. There were several stocks that I was looking at that I was just ready to jump on. And 30 seconds before the bell, my screen freezes up. The one that I was doing screen share on, it froze. I couldn't do anything with it. And the only way I can fix it is to log all the way off my computer and log back on. And in the process, it killed the room too. It ended everything. So once I got the room back on, you notice I wasn't there for a while. I had to go deal with my emotions. And I have a strategy. There's a process that I go through in order to get my head screwed back on straight as soon as I can and get back in and do my job. Because, trading is my job. And I don't want to give a day of trading up, especially one that could be lucrative. I don't want to give that day up because I can't control my emotions. So you're going to be emotional. You're going to have emotions. It's all part of being human. They can't hurt us if we let them get out of whack. So we have to have a plan to deal with them. But you have to recognize the emotional states that you're in, that you experience. Think about how you feel. And that's, one of the things that I try to help with in the psychology class is try to help people understand when they get out of whack. Being able to recognize when your emotions are starting to become a detriment to your trading, and when you need to stop and deal with it. You need to have a plan on dealing with losses. If you lose 3 times in a row, then your plan may be to stop trading that day. Or if you lose 3 days in a row, your plan may be to stop trading that day. So it's something that you have to do, and it has to be a part of your plan, your business plan. Because again, you may not have this in your regular business plan, but trading is not a regular business. It's a little bit more to it, and psychology is a big part of it. So you want to have something in place to help deal with that. Now here's a biggie: money management. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with your money. For me, I set up a separate trading bank account, and then you want to establish how you're gonna pay yourself. Because the worst thing you can do is to start making money, and then you just start pulling it all out, putting it in your pocket. And then at the end of the year, if you're in the United States, you're going to need to pay Uncle Sam. And if you spend all your money, you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to take into account, how you're going to manage your money. And you really have to set up a little budget for yourself. And it's not that difficult. It's real simple. Like I said, everything you do, you want to keep it as simple as possible. So here's my budget when I started. This was it. The platform fee was $124. The scanner was $85. The chat room was $99. The internet was $79 a month. That was my monthly fee. In taxes, if I made any money, would be 35%. It took a while before I made any money. But for me, I decided I was going to pay myself every month. I wasn't going to pay myself every 2 weeks or every week or whatever. I was going to do the monthly thing. So whatever percent you want to come up with, how you're going to pay yourself, then that's what you want to do. If you want to pay yourself 20% of your profits, take 35 cents out for taxes and put the rest back into your trading. And that's why you need a trading bank account, so that the money that you're putting back into your trading doesn't get spent doing other things. That I still won't keep a whole lot of money in SureTrader. It's just the way that I am. It's just, I just have that fear of not being able to get my money. So now, I still just pay myself every month. If I had too much money in there in the middle of the month, I'd wire it out. But the key is I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew I had a bank account that I was going to open that was going to allow me to transfer or wire money in and receive money, so that it's separate from everything else. I knew what I wanted to do with my money. I only took 15% of what I made a month and kept it for me. I still use SureTrader now because most of the people I work with can't open up a regular account. They have small accounts, and I'm showing every day how you can make money in SureTrader. Now, I have a Speed Trader account that I swing out of. I've gone to strictly swing trading in my SureTrader account, and I've become a better swing trader than a day trader. That it just kind of happened that way. But that's what I do. So if I was in here every day using my Speed Trader account, there's a disconnect there. So I'm using SureTrader, and it's not a bad broker. The problem with SureTrader is they cater to newer traders who don't have money, that have very little experience, and so they end up losing money there. And instead of taking responsibility, they blame SureTrader. But I'm showing you every day, and I've been showing you since January, that you can make money in SureTrader, even with the fees or the commissions that they charge. And to tell you the truth, if you compare it to TD Ameritrade or like Schwab or these other places, it's actually cheaper. But you want to have an idea of how to pay yourself. So I paid myself 15%. Taxes, I pulled out 35%. Now, do I pay 35% in taxes at the end of the year? No, I don't. The reason why I do that is because I want to have a tax return or a tax refund at the just like everybody else. And if I pay more in taxes than I have to pay, then once I pay my taxes, whatever's left in my tax account is my tax refund. And it's beautiful. But it's things that you have to think about up front. And these are the things that's going to help you be established. Because again, if none of this is established, it's going to be impossible for you to grow your account. Because you're going to be worrying about all of this stuff instead of focusing on your trading. But all of this needs to be in place first. All right, so the last thing I just want to talk a little bit about the psychology aspect of it. Because, if you think about it, day traders, not only are we the best bankers in the world because we can do all of these jobs, we're the best salesmen in the world. Because, think about these so-called, used car salesmen and these telemarketers. They have a bad reputation of being pushy, being dishonest. It's not that's their claim to fame. But for us, think about it. When we get into a position, we can convince ourselves to do damn near anything. Or we can look at a chart that's nowhere close to setting up and make ourselves believe that it's setting up for a trade and we get in. Think about that. We can sell ourselves on anything when it comes to trading. And it's the equivalent of us selling ourselves oceanfront property in Arizona. So we have to understand that we can we can convince ourselves. So think about it. If we're faced with a loss, a trader can look at a chart and tell whoever that we still got a chance. You can always find a level of support or resistance that you can change your initial plan and base the trade off of. I do it to myself all the time. But it's so easy. So you have to be prepared for that. Okay, we have to not make ourselves and convince ourselves that we see something that's not there. And when we feel that way, when we feel that happening, that's when we need to stop. And we need to, go through our psychological management strategies and help us to make sure that we don't continue to do the same things that we're doing now. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And a lot of times that's what we do. And a lot of us day traders, we're just completely insane. So you want to think about all of these things. You want to lay out a plan. And you want to have all of this in place. Now you may think of something else. There may be some other things that are important to you, that you feel that are important part of your trading. And if you do, definitely put that in your plan. This is just a simple plan that I started out with that helped me to develop into the trader that I am today. And that's what you want to be able to do. And I've added to this. I've added to it. You know, I've got the swing trading stuff in there now. So, you know, I had to add to my daily routine once I started the community. I had to change that. There's a lot of things I had to just continue to change. So just know that whatever this document is you create, it needs to be a working document. It needs to be a living document. And please, if you don't have it, work on it as soon as possible. Don't keep trading, giving your money back, and not put it together, because you're going to keep giving your money back and keep giving your money back and keep giving your money back. So you don't want to get caught up in that circle. Now, next week, you know, we're going to start getting into some strategies in managing your day, in managing your trades, so that you're able to lock in money. You're able to book your profits and keep them. And that's that's the next key in growing your small account, is being able to lock in the profits you make, but not only lock them in, you want to be able to keep them. You know, you don't want to do what I did yesterday. You know, lock in $250, you know, trading very small size. Lock it in by, you know, 9:35 or so. And then systematically throughout the day, give back 3/4 of it. No, you don't want to get in that every day. You can't make it that way. And I knew what I was doing. I mean, I did that Monday. I'm sorry. I did that Monday. I knew what I was doing, but I did it anyway. But then yesterday, I decided, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. After the morning, I'm done. Unless we get breaking news or something, I'm done. And that's exactly what I did. Today, I just got messed up. And I didn't take a trade until I kind of had my wits about me. And the one trade I took, you know, didn't work. We were in a sideways action at that point. And so that was that. You know, I wasn't going to keep trying to nitpick and find this and find that. I just let it go and say, we'll come back tomorrow. You know, I covered my swing trade and made a pretty good penny. You know, so I'm happy. And that's what we have to be. We have to be happy traders. So we're gonna get deeper into this next week. So hopefully you guys are doing what you need to do in order to get your plan together. Because I can't stress that enough. And if you have trouble getting your plan together, then that's when you need to start looking for either help from friends or family who may be good at putting things together, or a mentor. You know, there's a lot of options out there. All right, so does anybody have any questions or any comments? Because I tried to keep this to an hour so I wouldn't put myself to sleep or put you guys to sleep after this long trading day. Yep, you're exactly right. Too many people blow up and give up before they really realize what strategies they're good at. And you're exactly right. And that's where the simulator comes in. You know, that's a big part of what we're going to talk about too next week. All right, Dustin. We'll see you. Have a good one. All right, yeah, we will see y'all in the morning. Yes, I will be uploading this as soon as we get off. I will be uploading it. Those charts, the green lines are levels of support or resistance. And their daily support. Sometimes, you know, when I get too many on there, like if I'm looking at a daily chart and I get too many lines on there, then, you know, I have to take them off like you saw me do today. Just take them off, and then I can look to see, you know, where I've got windows. Because like on the daily chart, it may look, you know, crowded here. And then on the 5-minute chart, they're going to be spread out. I'm not really looking at the candles through here. I'm looking at them on here. I just draw the pivots. I draw on the daily chart because I'm not trading off of this chart. I just draw the pivots off of this, and they transfer to here. So for instance, let me I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Let me clear drawing set. All right, so we were trading around here today. So what I do is I take the daily chart and I draw my levels of support or resistance. Okay, I really don't care about the candles on the daily chart right now because I'm not looking at the daily chart. I'm just looking at levels of support or resistance or pivot points on the daily chart. All right, so now you see I drew 3 lines here. Only two of them showed up on the 5-minute chart. Now see, I can see real good on a 5-minute chart. You know, here's a level here. I can see better on a 5-minute chart because they're spread out. So if I ever have a 5-minute chart and I've got all of these green lines going, I'm not going to trade it because the chart's too crowded. But let's look at PXD. This is a good one. All right, see, once I blow this chart up, I've got enough room to see my candles in between these lines. Now, if I was trying to read the daily chart, there's no way I can read that. No way I can read this. So I'd have to take all of these off to read it. But I can read the 5-minute chart. I can read the 2-minute chart. I can read the 60-minute chart. All right, you're welcome. But definitely, if you're looking at a chart and what you have on there is like too crowded for you, take it all off. Because when I first started learning how to trade, my chart looked like, let me remove. When I started trading, this is how my chart looked. My chart looked just like that. And then, as I learned how to read price action, and I traded basically off of price action, and then I added a study. Then I added the VWAP. And that was it. That's all I used. And then I brought in moving averages. And then eventually, you know, with the moving averages, eventually my chart looked like this. With all the moving averages and the VWAP. But you got to start with a clean chart, and then, you know, things start to make more sense to you. All right. Any more questions? Thanks, Giselle. No, I don't use Fibonacci. All right, Bruno. We'll see you tomorrow. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome, guys. And if you want to see this again, we will have the recording up.